Trump delivering messages on Obamacare and what he would like to see in terms of reform to make health insurance more affordable and productive for the American people. You heard earlier this hour, I played a clip from his rally in Pennsylvania yesterday, where I offered one version of his Obamacare riff. He sat down with Dasha Burns for Politico for an interview, wide-ranging, and this was his riff with her on Obamacare, pretty close to what he said from the stump in Pennsylvania.
Obamacare was set up for insurance companies to become rich, okay? That was why they, in my opinion, I think the Democrats did it for that reason. Do you know that insurance company stocks have gone up 16, 17, 1,800% over a short period of time? They've been paid trillions, not billions, trillions of dollars. And what I'm saying is very simple. I don't want to pay them anything. No money for the insurance companies. Sorry, fellas, I know them all. No money for the insurance companies. I want to pay the money directly to the people and let the people get their own health care. But you know who's fighting me on that? The Democrats.
Yeah, well, that function needs to take some definitive form so people understand what exactly he means by taking the money from the insurance companies and giving it directly to the people. I mean, certainly anything that enhances consumer choice, I'm encouraged by. But what he said there is not going to be enough. It has to take a form. I know some people have discussed the fraud endemic to Obamacare, and that's certainly true. The GAO last fall began an undercover test in which it submitted insurance applications for fictitious individuals to the Obamacare exchange and insurance brokers. Nearly all of its invented people were able to enroll in subsidized plans despite submitting false or no records to verify their identities and income. Of the government accounting offices, 24 applications, 23 were approved. 18 were still covered as of September of this year, suggesting that the exchange and insurers didn't verify information even after enrollment. The subsidies paid to insurance companies for those 18 applicants totaled more than $10,000 per month, equivalent to an annual $6,700 annual subsidy for each enrollee. The GAO is saying in some cases, we were not prompted to provide documentation to verify an applicant's identity. No Social Security, no Social Security number, no problem. In another instance, the Obamacare exchange notified us that it had verified the applicant's estimated income based on documentation we submitted. However, we did not submit documentation. So, as per usual, massive federal bureaucracy is rife with waste and incompetence and spendthriftery, other people's money. So certainly that should be addressed in a meaningful way, and system change is the best way to address it. You know, more accountability mechanisms inside these Rube Goldberg bureaucracies never quite gets it done, does it? So rather than using this as a crutch, you say this is why we need to completely reorder the system. And how you change any system, as I've said about K through 12 education for eons, change how the money flows and change who gets to make the spending decisions. Change it away from flowing to institutions or bureaucracies and direct it to the beneficiaries and empower them to make their own spending decisions and live with them. Oh, by the way, and enjoy the benefits and endure the consequences. That's how it should be with education and with health insurance. And so Trump's instincts, like you heard in that interview, like you heard on the stump in Pennsylvania yesterday, I think are correct. So, but they haven't really been translated into what's being moved around in both chambers. Senate Republicans are set to vote tomorrow on legislation that sponsored by Bill Cassidy, who's a doctor, Louisiana. And what it does is it ends the subsidies, no subsidies. It would instead divert money that typically goes to insurers to Americans through health savings accounts. Okay, that's one form. The bill also includes provisions that reduce federal Medicaid funding to states that cover illegal migrants, require states to verify citizenship or eligible immigration status before someone can get Medicaid, and a ban on Medicaid funding for gender transition services. It also bans taxpayer dollars from funding abortions through health savings accounts. Okay. And over in the House, you've got a competing but complementary proposal drafted by Russ Fulcher, who's a Republican from Idaho. He focuses on the short-term limited duration insurance, the STLDI plans, short-term plans. 4 months, he writes, is far too short a limit, posing undue stress and uncertainty on Americans who would otherwise be left without coverage. My bill expands these short-term plans to a full year with the option to renew for up to 3 years. This is a practical, no-cost approach that offers families more choice, control, and flexibility to select their health care options that work best for them. One thing the legislation is missing, argues James Freeman over at the Wall Street Journal. One thing it's missing is the renewal guarantee. As Michael Cannon from the Cato Institute noted, guaranteed renewal gives patients who develop expensive illnesses the perpetual right to re-enroll in their health plan at the healthy person premiums. And that's how short-term plans can become long-term plans at the consumer's discretion. That makes some sense, too, and you really want to punish these health insurance oligopolists who skewed the market, the big boys, to their benefit, and were the authors of this Obamacare monstrosity to begin with. That's a way to do it. Change how the money flows and who gets to make spending decisions. See if C.S. Tucker agrees with me. C.Steven Tucker is the founder of HealthInsuranceMentors.com, the most knowledgeable person in the free world on American health insurance. I'm not kidding either. That's not an exaggeration, really, truly. C.S., thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
Morning, Dan.
So sift through those Republican ideas in the House and Senate and tell me what you think makes sense and what you think, because you've got a good political mind too, what you think is sort of the most sellable with the most potential positive short-term impact.
I like the Kennedy-Crapo bill, the one that they're probably going to vote on tomorrow, Friday latest, I would think, because it really addresses a lot of the fundamental problems with not only the ACA itself, but also the American Rescue Plan, which, as you know, expanded subsidy eligibility, advanced premium tax credit eligibility, people making basically 1,000% above the federal poverty level, which is ridiculous, but that's what happened. And then they extended it under the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, and it's slated to end on December 31st. And at that point, if something is not done, everybody who is making 400% of the federal poverty level or higher will no longer qualify for federal subsidies. What does that mean in English? That means if you earn $62,600 or more, you're paying full price for all health insurance policies. If you're a married couple, $84,600, you're paying full price for all health insurance policies. And if you're a family of four making $128,000, you're going to pay full price. So that is going to increase health insurance costs across the board for millions of Americans because, of course, when you introduce a new subsidy, it's very difficult to pull it back. In fact, I can't think of one federal subsidy that was ever introduced was actually repealed. So I suspect the Kennedy-Cassidy bill, which is a good bill, is probably not going to pass, even though it takes federal eligibility for advanced premium tax credits up to 700% of the federal poverty level. So that is the top of the federal poverty level chart. So if it passes, those who earn single tax dollars now, who earn $109,550, will continue to qualify for advanced premium tax credits. Married couples making $148,050 will continue to qualify for federal advanced premium tax credits, and a family of four making $225,000 will qualify. And that will appease a lot of the people stuck in the middle between 400% of the federal poverty level and 1,000% of the federal poverty level. So is that a good proposal? better than simply extending the enhanced subsidies, which essentially have no limit whatsoever. Regardless of your income, you're getting a federal health insurance subsidy. That is irrational and unreasonable and fiscally irresponsible. So that's the choice we're facing. The other good thing about the Kennedy-Crapo bill is it puts the consumer in charge. There are many states, unlike Illinois, where you can buy health insurance that is not ACA qualified, not Obamacare, such as you were correctly mentioning, short-term health insurance. Right now in this country, thanks to President Trump, under Biden, short-term policies were effectively killed. He limited to 4 months maximum, which makes the policy effectively useless. What is the purpose of buying any policy on January 1st, which inherently does not cover pre-existing conditions? You buy it January 1, the exchanges are closed, it ends on April 1st. What if you're sick? You can't qualify for another policy, right? That is the single dumbest thing. One of the dumbest things they did.
Was that supposed to be just sort of like in lieu of COBRA if you're laid off, like gap insurance between jobs?
Short-term originally was for that purpose, right? But under the first Trump administration, they took those short-term policies and they spanned them out to 12 months with the option to lock it in for 3 years, whilst also locking your premium, Dan, for 3 years. No rate increase for 3 years. And it provided national PPO coverage, which is impossible to find now on the ACA exchanges. We have one PPO left in the state of Illinois. It is through Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, and as of January 1, 2025, it doesn't provide national coverage any longer. And so to be able to buy a short-term policy with a national PPO network and lock it in for 3 years, I'll give you an example of how wonderful that is. I have a former escapee from the state of Illinois who now enjoys her life in sunny state of Arizona. And that state is rationally led, or at least more rationally led than the state of Illinois. And she has 3 years until she reaches the healthcare promised land, known as Medicare, where your problems with high deductibles and high premiums will finally be over, but you have to get to 65, right? So she has 3 years to go. She was looking at an ACA plan, HMO only, of course, in Arizona. Half the states in this country only have HMOs left in the individual marketplace, no PPO option. And her cost, because they don't qualify for federal subsidies, because, of course, they make up more than 40% of the federal poverty level, would cost her about $1,400 a month for the privilege of a $10,600 annual risk exposure, and it was an HMO, not a PPO. And she likes to come back to Illinois to visit family. So yesterday, because she lives in a rationally led state, I locked her into a 3-year guaranteed policy, PPO short-term policy, premium locked in for 3 years, covering her to $5 million, something she cannot do for half the price of what she would have paid for an HMO restrictive policy, which is all that's left on the AC exchanges in Arizona. But you can't do that in the state of Illinois, because in the state of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker made all short-term policies illegal for sale, regardless of what the Trump administration does. And so one of the good things about the Kennedy-Crapo bill is it redirects $35 billion annually that we're giving to insurance companies via advanced premium tax credits to consumer-directed HSA accounts. So now she, for example, can use that money to fund her short-term policy instead of an ACA-qualified HMO restrictive policy.
So, I mean, would you like to see the legislation sponsored by that Republican from Ohio, Fulcher, with respect to short-term plans, and maybe adding that renewal guarantee bolted on to what they're kicking around in the Senate?
We don't even need it, Dan. It's already the law of the land. In all the states, besides irrationally led states like Illinois, in Indiana, for example, in Wisconsin, in Arizona, in Florida, et cetera, thanks to the Trump administration, we're already selling these policies. People are already buying them and enjoying them. They couldn't do it for 4 years under Biden, but they're already doing it now. So the Kennedy-Crapo bill would allow them to use the $35 billion that we're sending to insurance companies and instead use it to fund those kinds of policies, which is a great idea.
So it's like, sort of like the equivalent of an opportunity scholarship for school choice.
Yes, yeah, a perfect analogy. Yep.
And if you were able to move that legislation in the Senate that you were distilling, would that have immediate impacts in terms of improving the coverage and lowering the costs for Americans who would benefit?
Yes, because two of the dumbest things. I'll narrow it down to the dumbest thing in the ACA when it comes to the health insurance marketplace. You have to be under 30 years of age, Dan, to buy a catastrophic plan. The federal law, the Affordable Care Act, which isn't affordable, it limits catastrophic policies to only those 30 years of age or younger. Now, why would you do that? The catastrophic policies are the most affordable policies, but if you're over 30, you can't get it. So the Kennedy-Crapo bill says that's enough of that. If you want a catastrophic policy, go ahead and get it. Furthermore, under the Biden administration, HSA policies were virtually eliminated. We didn't have them available at all, right? Thanks to this bill and what the Trump administration has already done, every bronze level plan, even HMO bronze level plans, will be HSA qualified as of January 1st. And that's going to happen whether Kennedy-Crapo passes or not. Cassidy-Crapo, sorry, not Kennedy-Crapo.
Cassidy, yeah, Bill Cassidy, right?
Yeah, sorry.
So, I mean, in your view, this is the best option in a circumstance where immediacy is the order of the day. And this is something
Absolutely.
that Trump needs to, like the principle of redirecting money from insurance companies to the consumer is a good one. Now you got to be able to package it in a way like you just did that is consumable and then rinse and repeat, and Republicans all reading from the same playbook here. That would be your advice and counsel.
Yes, and timeline is very important here, right? Okay, we are 4 days away from the cutoff if you want a January 1st effective date under Obamacare. 4 days away. You have to change IRS code. If you're going to put this $35 billion annually into HSA accounts, you have to change IRS code because IRS code currently prohibits using HSA dollars to pay for health insurance premiums. So it's going to take time to change the IRS code. So how all this is going to happen before it needs to happen is impossible to me. I don't know how the timeline is going to happen, but I do support this bill. It is formerly known as the Healthcare Freedom for Patients Act. It was just unveiled 2 days ago, and they're changing it as we're speaking, as they're arguing in the Senate. So are they going to get this through? Probably not. That's my prediction. What I predict is going to happen is they're going to extend the enhanced subsidies,
right?
Because it's very difficult to pull away any subsidy that people have become used to. And there are a lot of Trump supporters who make more than 400% of the federal poverty level who are currently enjoying those subsidies.
So all you do, I mean, you extend the subsidies, and then even if that buys us the time we need to try to do something along the lines of the Cassidy bill in the Senate, but then that's not going to be impactful until post midterms, even if it were to pass.
That's exactly right. That's what's going to happen. That's my prediction anyway.
All right, CS, thanks for breaking this down for us. As I said, nobody better. If you've got 4 days of deadline, if you've got questions, C.S. Tucker is manning the phones 24/7, I have no doubt. HealthInsuranceMentors.com, HealthInsuranceMentors.com, C.Steven Tucker. Thank you, as always, for the enlightenment, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
And C.S. Tucker joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If you're purchasing a new home or refinancing your existing home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Corey called to consolidate his debt and was so happy with my advice, he left me this 5-star Google review. Quote, I was looking to pay off debt, so I reached out to David after listening to his radio show. David called me personally and walked me through my options.